In history, there was a Barbary lion that managed to defeat 13 tigers during its lifetime. That's right, 13 big and powerful tigers. That's not a small number. Juno was a legendary Barbary lion who was trained under one of the most famous animal trainers of the 20th century. And of course, using his own unique strength and intelligence, he managed to subdue 13 tigers. But the question that might come up is whether these battles were really like the fights that happen in nature, or if they were just staged scenes in a circus. Let's step into Juno's world and hear the story of his life. Let's watch footage of his battles with tigers and unravel this thrilling mystery together. Was Juno a Barbary lion so powerful that history has never seen anything like him before? Lions and tigers are undeniably two of the most formidable and wildest apex predators on Earth. And their incredible, often brutal battles in the untamed wilderness have been deeply etched into our collective minds and historical narratives for many centuries, symbolizing raw strength and the untamed spirit of nature. Usually, lions and tigers don't clash because of their different lifestyles. But if, for any reason, a situation arises where a lion and a tiger face off, it's not easy to say which one would win. In other words, even though the lion is known as the king of the jungle, it's not possible to say which is stronger between the lion and the tiger. Everything depends on lion and tiger type, environmental conditions, and individual temperament of these two predators. However, Juno was a Barbary lion who lived in captivity and held the record for defeating 13 tigers in circus history. In general, Barbary lions, also known as Atlas lions, are a subspecies of lions that are now extinct. These lions used to live in the Atlas Mountains of North Africa, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya, and were famous for their large size compared to other lions, especially their thick manes. In fact, the males had a long, black mane that extended from their head all the way down to their belly, making them look like real kings. Truly intimidating and majestic. Their strength was also truly impressive. In the Roman Empire, these lions were used in battle arenas and gladiatorial shows. There, they would set the lions on people or other animals for the public to watch as entertainment. Overall, Barbary lions once played an important role in nature, but their extinction is a painful tragedy that resulted from human interference and environmental changes. In fact, little by little, with the arrival of humans, excessive hunting, the widespread destruction of their natural forest habitats, the entertainment pursuits of colonialists and collectors, and the extensive exploitation of these magnificent lions in circuses, the Barbary lion tragically became extinct in the wild. Now, only a few partial specimens remain in zoos, and none of them are pure Barbary lions. That means their DNA is a mix of Barbary lions and other species. Of course, there are efforts to selectively breed these remaining partial specimens, but it's still not clear whether we'll ever have a pure Barbary lion in the future. Let's get back to Juno's story. We mentioned that Barbary lions were also used in circuses because of their incredible power and majesty. Juno was a Barbary lion who was no exception to this rule and ended up captured and held by humans. In fact, Juno lived under the supervision of Clyde Beatty, one of the most famous animal trainers of the 20th century. But Juno wasn't just famous for his dignified appearance. He became renowned for his record of defeating 13 tigers during his lifetime and for the dangerous and thrilling performances he put on from the 1930s to the 1950s in the Ringling Brothers Circus, the Hagen-Bakwalis Circus, and the Clyde Beatty-Cole Brothers Circus. Overall, Juno was no ordinary lion. Even among the other big cats in the Clyde Beatty Circus, he stood out. Of course, Clyde Beatty himself was no ordinary trainer either. In the mid-20th century, Beatty became famous for his daring acts. For example, he would enter an enclosed area filled with lions and tigers and put on performances full of dramatic, choreographed scenes to showcase the strength and agility of his animals. Unlike the other circus lions, Juno not only had great physical ability but also a fighting spirit. His mane served as a good natural protection in fights, and his large size gave him an advantage. Overall, Juno's powerful build, unique presence, and exceptional courage had made him the star of Betty's circus and a real force during training as well. Clyde Beatty himself liked Juno the most out of all, but this affection also caused trouble, because many times Juno was forced into more fights and got caught up in intense clashes with the other big cats, especially the tigers. These fights usually happened during circus performances or training sessions when the lions and tigers were put together in one cage. It's worth mentioning that these fights usually don't happen in the wild, because lions and tigers live in different ecosystems and rarely encounter each other. So, Juno's fights with other big cats were a product of the circus environment, where animals were kept in small spaces, which led to intense fights and conflicts. In short, whether these fights happened spontaneously or were provoked by the trainers, the results always clearly showed Juno's undeniable superiority. Of course, there were several significant reasons for Juno's victories. Overall, Barbary lions are among the largest lion subspecies, with males weighing up to 272 kilograms, or in other words, 600 pounds. So Juno's large size gave him a physical advantage over his rival tigers, which were usually Bengal tigers. Now let me tell you an interesting point about the function of a lion's mane. You should know that a lion's mane isn't just for decoration. It actually protects the lion during fights. Juno's mane also acted like armor and could lessen the impact of blows and claws from his opponents during fights. But another significant reason for Juno's repeated victories over formidable tigers, and his impressive record of defeating 13 powerful tigers, was that lions are naturally social creatures and are accustomed to effective teamwork, which can significantly improve their battle tactics and strategic approaches. On the other hand, tigers are inherently solitary and prefer to live alone, and their fighting and hunting tactics mostly involve ambushing and relying on raw power. Therefore, Juno's experience in facing other lions and honing his battle tactics usually helped him in his fights against tigers. But Juno's life story raises an important question. Were these fights really a symbol of the lion's natural dominance and superiority over the tiger? Or were they just staged for the entertainment of people who came to the circus seeking excitement? Well, one thing to keep in mind is that in the early 20th century, animal rights weren't considered very important, and circuses would endanger the animals' well-being to create thrilling shows and make money from them. So, regarding the story of Juno's records, some people say that these fights were mostly for show, and circus owners just wanted to display how wild the big cats were, without caring about their well-being. Therefore, the possibility that the fights were staged doesn't seem far-fetched either, so you can't really rely too much on their outcomes. But some others say that even if these fights were staged, Juno's victories still show the natural superiority of Barbary lions over Bengal tigers in confined and captive conditions. When we were researching the topic of this video, we realized that circus conditions used to be very harsh, and animals were kept in small cages. They underwent tough and stressful training and were forced to do unnatural things. Still, in my opinion, using animals just for show is unethical. Fortunately, nowadays new laws have been put in place for wild animal performances that no longer ignore animal rights. But I'd also like to know what you think. Do you think it's right for animals like Juno to face off against other predators in circuses, show off their strength, and make history or not? Also, let me know in the comments whether you think lions are stronger than tigers in the wild, or if that's just a result of the special conditions in the circus. Juno's story is one of extraordinary power and dominance in a completely unnatural environment. In other words, power and fame aren't achieved through natural means. Sometimes, circumstances, and environment are main players in success. As a Barbary lion in captivity, Juno was a symbol of strength and resilience, and managed to create a lasting legacy in the world of circuses despite all the hardships. His victories over 13 tigers still stand as one of the most fascinating chapters in the ongoing rivalry between lions and tigers. However, we should remember that these fights were influenced by captivity, and in the wild, lions and tigers interact with each other in a completely different way. In fact, tigers mostly live in the dense forests of Asia, while Barbary lions used to be in North Africa, and now they are extinct. The different geography and habitats mean that these two predators never actually come into conflict. So, when there's no confrontation, there's no winner or loser either. But the lesson we should take from this video is that we shouldn't use living creatures for entertainment and amusement. Juno and his battles may have made history, but pet